Don't touch your first $10,000. Because if you do, there's a very good chance you will spend far more than $10,000 without realizing it. Meet Daniel. Daniel is 34, earns $58,000 a year, and for the first time in his adult life, he finally hit five figures in savings. $10,000, not on paper, not in some retirement account he cannot touch for 30 years. Real cash, sitting there, available, his money. And the emotional hit was bigger than he expected. For years, Daniel had lived in that low-grade financial anxiety most people know too well. The kind where one bad month can throw your whole life sideways. A car issue, a dental bill, a rent increase, a flight you did not expect to book. Every problem feels bigger when you have no buffer between you and chaos. But now he had one. $10,000 did not make him rich, but it made him feel safe, more solid, more adult. Like he had finally crossed into a different category of person. The kind of person who has their life together. And that feeling is exactly what makes your first $10,000 so dangerous. Because most people think the hard part is saving it. It is not. The hard part is surviving the moment you finally have it. That sounds dramatic, but it is true. Your first $10,000 is not just money. It is a psychological event. It changes how you see yourself, how you justify spending, and how you interpret the purpose of that money in the first place. And if you read it the wrong way, you will lose it. Not in one giant disaster. Slowly, reasonably, almost invisibly. A repair here, a trip there, one upgrade you can suddenly afford. A few decisions that all make sense on their own. And then one day you look up and the number that once felt life-changing is gone. That is the trap. Most people treat their first $10,000 like a reward. The people who keep it treat it like a machine. That is the whole game. To see why, compare Daniel to Maya. Maya is 31. She makes about the same salary Daniel does. Same city. Same rent pressure. Same grocery prices. Same annoying life. In the same year, she also fought her way to a $10,000 balance. From the outside, they look almost identical. But the story each person tells themselves about that money is completely different. Daniel sees $10,000 and thinks, finally, I made it. I can breathe. Maya sees $10,000 and thinks, good. Now the real work can begin. That difference sounds tiny. It is not tiny. It is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Because Daniel's first mistake is not spending. His first mistake is meaning. He thinks the $10,000 is the finish line. But it is not. It is the starting line. And the moment you confuse a starting line for a finish line, you do the most natural thing in the world. You relax, you soften, you become less protective. You stop acting like the money has a job to do and start acting like it is proof you deserve something back. So, when Daniel's car needs $1,800 of work, he pulls from savings. Reasonable. When friends plan a holiday weekend, he says yes because he can finally afford not to be the broke one. Also reasonable. When his laptop dies and he upgrades a little more than necessary, that feels reasonable too. None of these choices scream financial self-destruction. That is why this is so dangerous. Almost nobody blows their first $10,000 in one reckless weekend. They dissolve it through totally defensible decisions. That is why the first $10,000 disappears from ordinary lives all the time. Not because people are stupid, not because they are lazy, because they misunderstand what the money is for. Behavioral economists have a name for part of this problem: mental accounting. Your brain does not treat every dollar equally. It sorts money into emotional categories. Rent money feels serious. Bonus money feels lighter. Tax refunds feel like gifts. A big round savings milestone often feels like a prize. And prizes get spent. That is the glitch. Your first $10,000 may be the most serious money you own, but it rarely feels serious. It feels symbolic. It feels earned. It feels overdue. It feels like relief, status, reward, freedom. All emotionally understandable. All financially dangerous. Because once money feels like a reward, you stop guarding it like infrastructure. And infrastructure is what this money really is. Your first $10,000 is not luxury money. It is foundation money. It is the first layer under your life that can hold pressure without collapsing. It is also something else, momentum. And momentum in personal finance is incredibly fragile at the beginning. People love quoting that the first $100,000 is the hardest. That is true, but almost nobody talks enough about the hardest part inside that hardest part. Keeping the first chunk intact long enough for compounding to matter at all. Before that, nothing is working for you. There is no second engine, no asset growth worth mentioning, no meaningful buffer creating options. It is just your labor dragging everything uphill. That first $10,000 is the point where your money can begin to stop acting like static cash and start acting like a tool, but only if you leave it alone. And this is where the math gets uncomfortable. When most people spend $10,000, they think the cost is $10,000. It is almost never $10,000. The real cost is what that money would have become. That is the blind spot that wrecks people. A dollar is not just a dollar. A dollar with time attached behaves like something much larger. Money left alone does not sit there politely. It compounds. It multiplies. It starts doing work you did not personally have to do. So let us use simple numbers. If $10,000 grows at an average annual return of 10%, then in 10 years it becomes about $26,000. In 20 years, about $67,000. In 30 years, about $175,000. In 40 years, roughly $450,000. That means your first $10,000 is not just $10,000. To your future self, it may be closer to $500,000. That is why touching it is so expensive. When Daniel drains his first $10,000, he is not just spending present money. He is selling future options, future flexibility, future peace, future buying power, future time. He thinks he bought a trip, a repair, and some breathing room. What he really did was trade away the years those dollars needed in order to become powerful. And this is why Maya behaves differently. She does not see $10,000 as cash sitting there waiting to help her feel better. She sees it as a seed, and seeds are not judged by what they are today. They are judged by what they can become if left undisturbed. That shift in framing changes everything. When her expenses pop up, Maya does not automatically raid the $10,000. She asks a different question. Is this what this money is for? Sometimes the honest answer is yes. Real emergencies exist. Life happens. A safety net should sometimes be used. But most people make a huge mistake here. They keep their emergency fund and their wealth building seed in the same mental bucket, sometimes in the same literal account. That is how everything gets blurry. If one pile of money is supposed to do every job, then every inconvenience starts looking like a valid reason to touch it. That is why people keep having savings and somehow never getting ahead. Their money is not organized by mission, and money without a mission gets reassigned by emotion. This is one of the most important rules in personal finance. Your safety money and your growth money are not the same thing. Your emergency fund has one job: protect your life from short-term chaos. Your investment seed has a different job: grow quietly over a very long period of time. Mix those together and you create confusion. And confusion is expensive. Put everything in investments and your safety disappears when markets fall. Put everything in cash and your future gets stuck earning almost nothing. Spend from the same visible pile every time life gets annoying and you stay in a loop forever. That loop has a name. It is the savings treadmill. Here is how it works. You fight hard to save your first $10,000. You feel proud. Then you slowly spend it. Then you rebuild it. Then life hits again. Then you rebuild it again. From the outside, it looks like discipline. You keep saving, you keep trying, you keep recovering. But from a net worth perspective, you are sprinting in place. You are saving the same $10,000 over and over. That is the tragedy. A person can save $30,000 across several years of effort and still feel like they have gone nowhere because each cycle resets the compounding clock back to zero, and the financial cost is only half of it. The psychological cost is worse. Every reset quietly teaches you a story about yourself. It tells you maybe saving does not work. Maybe wealth is for other people. Maybe no matter what you do, something always wipes it out. That belief is devastating because once someone stops believing progress can stick, they stop building systems that could have made it stick. This is why the second withdrawal is often more dangerous than the first. The first one can be justified. The second one changes identity. Once the pristine number is broken, people often stop protecting what remains with the same intensity. Psychologists call this the what the hell effect. Once the streak is broken, the rest feels easier to give away. You spent some of it already, so now it is no longer sacred. That cracked feeling matters. A saver with $10,000 often behaves very differently from a saver with $7,200, even if both amounts are meaningful. The clean target had symbolic power. Once it is damaged, discipline often weakens with it. That is why protecting the first withdrawal matters so much. Not just because of the money, because of the story. So how do people like Maya actually keep their first $10,000? Usually not through superior willpower. That is the comforting myth people tell themselves. That successful savers are just more disciplined in every moment. Mostly they are better at building systems that remove decision-making from the hot moment. Maya does three things. First, she separates her money by job. Her emergency cash is boring, safe, and accessible. Her long-term money is not sitting next to her checking account begging to be used. Second, she adds friction. Not impossible friction, just enough friction. Enough that touching the growth money requires a pause, a transfer, a wait, a conscious decision. That tiny delay matters because impulses lose strength when they have to survive time. Third, she automates. She does not rely on feeling motivated every month. She sets up the transfer once and lets repetition do what motivation never can. Keep going when she is tired, tempted, busy, or emotionally messy. That is the hidden advantage disciplined people often have. Not stronger character, better architecture. And there is one more risk people ignore: doing nothing. Some people here don't touch your first $10,000 and respond by freezing. They keep the whole thing in a checking account because at least it feels safe. But idle money is not safe in real terms. Inflation quietly eats cash that is doing nothing. If inflation averages around 3%, then money parked at 0% loses buying power every year. After a decade, that same $10,000 may still show the same number on a screen, but what it can buy is materially lower. So there are really two ways to lose your first $10,000. You can spend it quickly, or you can let it decay slowly. Both feel harmless in the moment. Both are expensive. The real answer is not never use money. The answer is give each dollar a clear job, then protect that job. That is what people miss. Your first $10,000 is not valuable because it is a big number. It is valuable because it is the first number that can begin changing the direction of your financial life. It can become stability. It can become optionality. It can become investment capital. It can become proof that your money no longer has to start from zero every few months. But only if you stop seeing it as available. That is the mental shift. Not, I finally have money to use, but I finally have money to protect. That sentence alone can change a life. Because once you understand what your first $10,000 actually is, the temptation starts to look different. It is not just a tempting balance. It is your first working asset, your first real floor, your first little engine. And if you can keep that engine running, if you can resist converting it back into consumption, you give yourself something most people never build: financial momentum that survives you. That is the point. Not to admire the number, not to celebrate the milestone for too long, not to turn it into proof that you can finally exhale and spend like a normal person again. The goal is to keep that first machine alive long enough for it to become impossible to ignore. Because once money starts compounding for real, Your entire relationship with effort changes. You are no longer dragging the full weight alone. Now something is pushing with you. So do not touch your first $10,000 unless it is doing the job you explicitly designed it to do. If it is your emergency fund, protect it as emergency infrastructure. If it is beyond your emergency fund, plant it where it can grow. But whatever you do, do not mistake it for a reward. That is how people lose it, and that is how they lose the years attached to it. Your first $10,000 is not a finish line. It is the first brick, the first gear, the first quiet proof that your future does not have to keep starting over.